So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's something that Henry Ford said. Hi, I'm Coach Bobby Brown, and I'm with Sober Life Right. What I do is I help people live their most amazing lives free from drugs and alcohol. And I do that through one-on-one coaching. I hopefully do that through these videos. I have been absolutely blessed to get to live an amazing life. It's an absolute gift to me. I am a man in long-term recovery. What that means for me is that today, everything that I'm doing, I get to do free from drugs and alcohol. It's been that way since July 22nd, 2021. Thank you for watching this. I'm going through one of my top 5 favorite books of all time, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I'm trying to break these principles down into most of them for one day, but some of them, the longer ones, may do over 2 parts. Today I'm working on principle number 10, which is pump the brakes, which I'm going to take a minute here and say, if you're interested in this book, or if you would like to support me and you want to read this, there is a link in the description for you to go to Amazon and purchase it. I am an Amazon affiliate. I get a small commission from that. The main thing is I want to get this book in as many people's hands as possible. This is a book I often gift to people because it has had such a huge impact in my life. It's kind of like an encyclopedia of things successful people do. I've read a ton of self-help books, probably hundreds over time, and a lot of the concepts from other books are packed in a more condensed way in this. I'm somebody that likes to, I've learned that I love books, I love reading, but a lot of times I don't need all the extra stories or the repetition to kind of get things. A lot of times I already know a lot of the base principles, and I want the knowledge. I want just give me the bullet points, give me what I need. And I think Jack does a really good way of condensing a ton of information in a very small scale. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that this book talks about. It is all about taking a look at what might be holding us back. And he starts out the whole pump the brakes. He used the analogy of driving a car with the emergency brake on. And I don't know if you've ever done that. That's definitely something that I've done before. Realize that car just doesn't seem to be going as fast. I'm trying to go into passing gear and it just doesn't happen. Then you finally realize its brakes on and you just release it, and suddenly you get all this momentum. And he said that is a lot like what most of us do. We have these psychological blocks that are keeping us from finding the success we want. And it could come from all sorts of reasons. It could come from personal experience. It could come from things that you've heard, things that you've read, things that you've been told. Not everybody has the benefit of having perfect parents. I know, I love my parents, but they weren't perfect. They could only give me what they had. And so there were things that my parents couldn't give me. My parents weren't rich. They were not financially kingdom builders. They were not, so they couldn't give me lessons on money. I had to learn those much later in life, still learning. They didn't have, my mom and dad were not together they're not getting ready to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. It was a lot of broken relationships, bad relationships that were teaching lessons. So these are things that I inherited. A lot of my beliefs around relationships, I've had to learn, I've had to read, I've had to trial and error relationships to do that. They were not real big on fitness. So I wasn't the kid that was going out to sports and having the ball thrown with me by dad and taught that exercise and eating right was important. I heard these things, but I didn't have that behavior modeled for me. So these are things I had to learn later in life that, hey, it's not good to live on Big Macs and lying in bed watching TV all day. You do that, you're going to suffer from obesity. So I'll talk a little bit about And I like to get kind of personal because I am a sober coach. I've been playing with what the right terminology for what I do is. And I think that's probably as good as anybody, as good as anything that I've said. I deal with addiction. I deal with problems around drugs and alcohol and what it takes to turn your life around from these sort of problems. One of the big limiting beliefs that I had was that I didn't have a problem. This kept me sick for a long period of time. I remember a conversation I had with a friend about 7 years ago. And it was not somebody I talked to on a daily basis. I didn't, we were probably more good acquaintances than like close friends. But she had this really honest conversation with me. She was the first person that told me, like, you have a freaking problem and you don't see it. You have a problem, you have a problem. And I remember this conversation going on in my mind and the absolute disbelief, like how, like she had it so wrong. Like, it's great. Oh, all this stuff she's telling me, that's all great stuff, but you've got it wrong. But that's not me. And I humored her for the conversation. And I feel like we stayed on the phone for like an hour. And like I had this, like, I don't want to call it arrogance because it wasn't, maybe it was arrogance. It was this feeling that she was just so off base. Like, my core belief was that I don't have a problem with drugs and alcohol. I'm not affected by them. I've come to realize now, after 10 years in recovery and all sorts of different treatment stuff, and working with thousands of others that are in early recovery, drugs and alcohol have an effect on your body, whether you like it or not. I don't care if you're an alcoholic or an addict. You don't have to be to have trouble with drugs and alcohol. The chemicals that we put in our body cause a physical change in our body and in our brain. The first drink has immediate effects on parts of our brain that control inhibitions, which inhibitions are designed to keep us safe and socially acceptable people, help us to build these communities for safety. Like, that's hardwired into us back from our earliest days of civilization. And the first drink of alcohol takes that away. It causes people to do things they wouldn't normally do. Forget about some of the harder stuff I was doing. I am an ex-IV methamphetamine user. Those chemicals do some scary, scary stuff to you. They affect your decision-making part of your brain, your impulse control part of the brain. Imagine being out there and you started using meth, and the part of your brain that tells you, hey, it's a bad decision to keep using meth is dead. They've done brain scans on this. Like, there's dead parts of the brain that are there. And when more meth comes, the part of your brain that says, hey, don't just go do that, it's not working either, so you just go do it. And you get this wild, crazy cycle. Like, it's so scary. And I've seen this thousands of times. I see people come in and I immediately can recognize it. Like, immediately recognize, okay, well, this guy, this girl, there's not a whole lot I can do for them right now. Right now they're dealing with brain damage. I can try and be honest with them. I can try and show them some hope. I can show them some love, some compassion, some kindness. But at the end of the day, I'm not working with, it's like booting up a computer and the operating system's not working. It's very hard to go to the internet if you can't get to Windows. So so that's a limiting belief that I had. So how do you change these beliefs? Well, there's a process to it. First off, you have to identify what they are. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. One of the ways as a coach I can help people do that is by helping them to just kind of walk through and inventory and see what their behavior, what does the evidence say about your life and how drinking and drugs have affected it. Because that was one of the things that was powerful for me, is that I finally got to a point where after my like third significant time in jail, losing everything, finally had enough evidence to say, okay, well, forget what you think. This is all the evidence amounts to that there's a problem. Okay, once you've got to that point, what would be helpful? And one of my favorite books, another top 5 book for me, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, talks about how most of our beliefs, or all of our beliefs, are inherited or learned behavior. I believe this, and that a lot of them are not helpful. You know, my parents' beliefs on money are probably not helpful for me if I want to be wealthy. My parents' early beliefs on relationships are probably not going to be a lot of good for me if I want to have a long-lasting, fulfilling, meaningful relationship with a woman. So I've got to find new beliefs that are helpful to me. And then he talks about using affirmations, and just get the book. It's got a great way to build affirmations. If you're not sure at all what affirmations even are, basically it's self-talk. It's the way that it takes into account the way that our brain works, and the idea is that our brain doesn't know the difference between what we're actually experiencing and what we visualize experiencing, that words have power, and it breaks down like these 9 steps in how to do that. And I won't try and do that here in this video. Just get the book. Again, it's in the link. Get The 4 Agreements, another amazing book if you haven't read it. Both life-changing for me. And then lastly, just a couple of things like this. If you liked it, hit the button. Take the time to do that. Take the time to subscribe. If you like this and you would like to hear more of what I've got to say, subscribe. If you'd like to hear more about the success principles, don't miss them. And then if you know that you are at a point that you've got some limiting beliefs, you don't know, and you want to know how to challenge them and what might be some more helpful beliefs, and you think that you've been considering a coach, you've been considering investing in yourself and trying to get somebody in your corner, and you like me, I would love to coach some really, really motivated people that want to really make positive impact in their life. And if that's you, please comment coach in the comments. I guess that's where that goes. And I'll reach out to you, and let's get together and let's just talk, and we'll just kind of see if it's a good fit. So I hope you got something out of this. I hope you have an amazing day. And if you're struggling with drugs and alcohol, I believe that you don't have to use ever again, and you can live an amazing life. I'm living proof. My life is amazing, and I haven't touched the drugs and alcohol. Everything I used to do before that I love, and new things I never even knew I'd love. My life is better without drugs and alcohol, and yours can be too.